The morning sun shone over the palace, turning the crystal towers into burning rays of color. Yet the peace was only temporary. Scouts had reported a large fleet of raiders approaching the planet's orbit. This time it was not a small raid, it was an invasion. The raiders' ships filled the sky, black silhouettes against the violet light. Captain Alex Hayes stood on the observation balcony with Princess Lyra. Her eyes were wide with fear, but she did not speak. Alex placed a hand gently on the railing, his mind already racing. "They're too many for a direct fight," he said quietly. "If we meet them head-on, we'll lose everything." Lyra looked at him. "Then what should we do?" "The people. The city." Alex turned to face her. "We use what we have and we fight smart. Not just with weapons, but with strategy." She nodded slowly, trusting him in a way few could. The Queen summoned Alex to the throne room. She stood tall, her aura commanding even in the tense moments. "You are human," she said, "yet you are the only one among us who seems calm in the face of such danger. Tell me your plan." Alex spoke clearly and quickly. "We split our forces. Some defend the city with shields and traps. Others, my suggestion, will use fast ships to attack their supply lines, confusing them and slowing their advance." The Queen raised an eyebrow. "You suggest we divide our strength?" "Yes," Alex said. "The raiders expect a direct fight. If we force them to chase shadows, we can control the battle, protect the people, and strike when they are weakest." The Queen paused, considering him. Then she smiled faintly. "Perhaps humans are cleverer than we imagined." Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. "Then I will help too," she said. "I know the palace, the city, the defenses. I can guide the forces with you." Alex nodded. "Together we can do this." As the raider fleet descended, Alex coordinated the defenses. He moved quickly, giving instructions to Zetherian commanders who had previously looked down on humans. They followed him, not because of rank, but because his ideas made sense. The raiders landed, ships spitting fire and energy beams. The city shook under their assault, but Alex's plan began to work. Traps hidden in the streets collapsed under the raiders' weight, capturing them in glowing nets. Defensive shields redirected energy beams, saving key structures. Lyra guided reinforcements through secret tunnels, leading small squads to strike raider units where they least expected. Alex's strategy was precise, human logic guiding alien technology. For hours, the battle raged. The raiders were skilled but disoriented. Every time they struck, another part of the city hit back. The invaders began to retreat, their fleet scattered and confused. At the height of the battle, Alex noticed a large ship descending directly toward the palace. Its weapons were charged, and its trajectory was deadly. "We can't let it reach the palace," Alex shouted. He grabbed a small shuttle, Lyra climbing beside him. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Stopping that ship," he said. "If it hits here, everything we saved will be lost." They soared toward the enemy vessel, dodging energy fire and debris. Alex's hands moved quickly over the controls, weaving the shuttle through the chaos. Lyra, observing the enemy from the side, pointed out weak points in the ship's hull. Alex acted on her guidance, firing precise blasts at critical energy conduits. Sparks flew, engines sputtered, and finally, the ship spiraled out of control, crashing into the desert outside the city. The palace shook with relief, and Alex looked at Lyra. "That should buy us time," he said. She smiled, glowing with admiration. "You saved more than the palace, Alex. You saved everyone here." When the raiders finally retreated, the palace was quiet again, though small fires burned in distant districts. The Queen called a council, and this time she spoke with clarity and warmth. "Captain Hayes," she said, her voice steady, "your courage, strategy, and quick thinking saved our people. You are not just human, you are an ally, a protector, and a friend. Your actions have revealed something I had not known. Humans can be both strong and clever, both brave and wise." Alex bowed. "I did what I could, Your Majesty. The people deserve safety, and I will do everything to ensure it." Lyra stepped forward. "Mother, you see now. Humans can be trusted. More than that, they can inspire loyalty, courage, and hope. Alex, he is not like any other visitor we've had." The Queen studied him, her eyes softening. "Yes, perhaps I was too quick to doubt your kind." That night the city celebrated. Lanterns floated across the skies, and citizens cheered, waving at the human who had saved them. Alex walked beside Lyra, both of them smiling at the joyful crowd. He felt the weight of responsibility but also a deep satisfaction. He had earned respect in a world far from Earth. Lyra glanced at him. "You think humans are fragile, don't you?" she asked softly. Alex laughed lightly. "We can be. But sometimes the strength we show comes from how much we care. That is what makes us powerful." Her eyes glowed brighter. "I see that now." "And I see you," Alex smiled. "Then perhaps we have more in common than we thought." Lyra laughed softly, a sound like bells in the night. "Yes, and perhaps the future will show even more." Later, in the quiet of the palace, the queen summoned Alex once more. She led him to a high balcony overlooking the city. The fires of celebration reflected in her eyes. "You have done more than I could have imagined," she said. "Your actions have not only saved lives but also changed the perception of your people in my eyes." Alex bowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what any human would, stand where we are needed." The queen studied him. "You speak humbly, but humans have a gift we rarely see. The courage to face impossible odds and the wisdom to act when others hesitate. Perhaps the galaxy will learn what I now know." Lyra appeared beside her mother. "And perhaps some gifts are meant to be shared, not kept hidden." Alex looked at both of them, a quiet understanding passing among the three. The battles were over for now, but the bonds forged in fire, trust, and courage would remain. As he gazed at the city lights, Alex realized something important. He had not just won respect. He had begun to build something stronger, a connection between humans and Zitharians that could change the future of both worlds. And for the first time, he understood that courage was not only about fighting or strategy, it was about trust, care, and choosing to act, even when the odds seemed impossible. He glanced at Lyra, who smiled faintly, and he knew that this was only the beginning of something greater, something no war, no betrayal, and no fear could take away. The morning after the Raider invasion was quiet. The city of Zitharia buzzed with repair and recovery. Citizens worked together to rebuild streets, repair homes, and restore the shining towers that had been scarred by battle. The air was warm with sunlight and hope. Captain Alex Hayes walked through the city alongside Princess Lyra. Both were greeted with nods of respect and smiles from the citizens. People pointed at Alex, some whispering in awe about the human who had saved their lives. Lyra walked quietly beside him, her glowing eyes filled with pride yet tinged with worry. "You have changed the hearts of many," she said softly. Alex looked at her, a small smile on his face. "I only did what anyone should. Protecting life, no matter where it comes from, is the same everywhere." Lyra nodded, her hair catching the sunlight. "Your words. They are simple, but they carry truth. That is why humans inspire." Inside the palace, the queen had convened her council. This time there was no tension. Alex entered and bowed. "Captain Hayes," the queen said, her voice calm but her eyes warm. "You have proven more than courage. You have shown loyalty, wisdom, and the strength to act when others could not. You are no longer a visitor. You are an honored protector of Zitharia." Alex bowed deeply. "It is my honor, Your Majesty. I only wish to serve where I can." The queen studied him for a moment. Then she stepped down from her throne and approached him. Her presence filled the hall, powerful and regal yet not threatening. "Your actions have earned my trust," she said, "and because of this trust I ask something few have dared to ask a human." Alex's heart beat faster. He did not know what she would ask, but he stood ready. "The future of my daughter is important to our people. You have proven your worth in ways no one expected. Will you take responsibility for her safety, her guidance, and her heart?" Alex blinked. He looked at Lyra. Her cheeks glowed softly, her eyes calm but bright. "Your Majesty," he said finally, "I have no desire to possess her. But I will protect her, guide her, and stand beside her in every challenge. Always." The queen's eyes softened. "Then I see you as a true ally, and perhaps in time more than that." Lyra's lips curved into a gentle smile. She stepped closer to Alex. "You have earned my trust, Alex. More than that, you have earned my respect and my friendship." Alex bowed his head. "And I will honor it, Princess Lyra. Always." Over the next days, the bond between Alex and the Zitharian people deepened. He trained with their guards, shared knowledge of Earth's tactics, and helped rebuild the city's defenses. The citizens came to see him as a hero, not because he was human, but because of his heart and courage. Lyra spent more time with him, observing his methods, listening to his stories of Earth, and learning from his choices. They laughed together, solved problems side by side, and shared quiet moments in the palace gardens. The queen watched carefully, her sharp eyes softened by the knowledge that her daughter had found someone worthy. One evening, as the twin moons rose, the next day the palace was filled with rebuilding. Cracked walls shimmered as repair drones hummed over them, sealing broken crystal with glowing resin. Smoke no longer rose from the city, but the memory of the raid still weighed heavy in the air. Guards patrolled more sharply, nobles spoke in hushed tones, and the people looked to their queen for strength. Captain Alex Hayes walked through the corridors, his eyes sharp, his body tense. He had fought to save Princess Lyra the night before, but he knew one act of courage would not erase all doubt. He was still a human among aliens, still a stranger in a world that tested him at every turn. When he entered the great throne hall again, the queen was waiting. She sat tall upon her black crystal throne, her crown catching the morning light. Lyra stood at her side, her expression unreadable, though her eyes lingered on Alex a little longer than before. "Human," the queen said, her voice carrying across the chamber. "You showed bravery in defending my daughter. Yet words and instinct are not enough. Bravery must be proven with purpose, not chance." Alex bowed. "Then give me purpose, your majesty." The queen rose. Her armor gleamed like molten silver as she descended the steps. "Very well. You will face the test of courage. It is an ancient Zetherian trial. It will show me and all who watch if your heart is true or if your bravery is only an accident." Murmurs rippled through the nobles who stood nearby. Some looked doubtful, others eager to see the human fail. Lyra's fingers tightened around the edge of her cloak, but she said nothing. Alex straightened his shoulders. "I accept." That evening, Alex was led to the testing grounds, a vast chamber deep beneath the palace. The walls glowed with shifting colors and the floor was marked with symbols that pulsed like living light. Nobles filled the observation platforms high above, while guards stood ready at the gates. The queen took her place upon a high dais, her presence commanding. Lyra sat beside her, her gaze fixed on Alex. "The test of courage has 3 trials," the queen declared. "One of body, one of mind, and one of spirit. Succeed and you will earn my respect. Fail, and you will leave Zetheria in shame." The chamber grew silent. Alex took a deep breath. He could feel every eye on him, waiting to see if a human could stand against a challenge meant for Zetherian warriors. "Begin," the queen ordered. The first trial began with the grinding sound of stone. From the far wall, a massive beast emerged, its body armored in crystal plates, its eyes glowing red. The crowd gasped. The creature was known as a Korlak, a predator used in Zetherian trials for centuries. Alex's instincts screamed danger, but he held his ground. The beast roared, shaking the chamber, and charged. Alex dove to the side, rolling across the glowing floor. He grabbed a staff that had been placed for him near the arena's edge. It wasn't a blaster or a blade, only a simple weapon, but humans had fought with less. The Korlak swung its tail, smashing the floor where Alex had stood a moment before. He darted in close, striking the beast's leg with the staff. The blow barely scratched its armor, but it made the creature stumble. "Come on," Alex muttered, circling. The beast roared again, swiping its massive claws. Alex ducked, the air rushing past his face. He struck again, aiming for the softer joint beneath the armor. This time the Korlak howled, its movement slowing. The crowd shouted, some in disbelief, others in approval. Finally, with a final strike to its weakened leg, the beast collapsed, unable to rise. Alex dropped the staff, his chest heaving. He looked up at the queen. "The trial of body is complete," she announced. The second trial began at once. The floor shifted, glowing symbols rearranging themselves into a vast puzzle of light and sound. Strange alien patterns floated in the air, changing shape whenever Alex stepped closer. "This is the trial of mind," the queen declared. "Solve it and you prove your wit. Fail and the chamber will collapse." Alex studied the glowing shapes, his brow furrowed. He didn't know Zetherian logic, but puzzles were puzzles no matter the world. He crouched, tracing patterns with his fingers, noticing how each symbol reacted when touched. Some grew brighter, others dimmed. Slowly he realized the puzzle was not about symbols themselves, but about balance. Each symbol connected to another like a chain. If one shone too bright, the others weakened. It was like stabilizing a system. "Equal weight," Alex whispered. like a machine. He worked carefully, shifting the glowing shapes until the chamber filled with a steady, balanced light. The floor stopped shaking and the crowd erupted in surprise. "The trial of mind is complete," the queen said, though her eyes were sharper now, watching him with new interest. The third trial was the hardest. The chamber grew dark and Alex suddenly found himself standing in a vision. He was back on Earth, or so it seemed. The smell of pine trees filled the air and the distant mountains glowed under a setting sun. A voice echoed in his head, soft but powerful. "This is the trial of spirit. Face your deepest fear." Before Alex's shapes appeared, he saw Earth under attack, cities burning, his people crying out for help. He saw himself standing alone, powerless to save them. The weight of failure pressed down on him. He clenched his fists. "No, I won't run from this." Then the vision shifted. Princess Lyra appeared standing among the flames. Her eyes were filled with sorrow. "You cannot save us," the vision whispered. Alex stepped forward. "Maybe not everything, but I will fight for what I can save. That is enough." The vision burned away like smoke, and Alex found himself back in the chamber, his heart racing, his fists still clenched. The queen rose from her throne. "The trial of spirit is complete." The crowd fell silent. All three trials passed. Alex stood in the center of the arena, sweat on his brow, but his gaze steady. He looked up at the queen, waiting. At last she spoke. "Human as you have faced strength, wit, and fear, and you did not fall. Perhaps there's more to your kind than I believed." Lyra's eyes shone with quiet pride, though she said nothing. Alex bowed, breathing deeply. "I did not come to prove I am stronger or wiser, only that I am willing. That is what courage means to humans." For the first time, the queen gave a small nod of approval. The trials were over, but Alex knew this was only the beginning. Courage had earned him respect, but trust in something deeper would take far more. The palace glowed with celebration that night. Lanterns of living crystal floated above the courtyards, casting soft light over the gathering. Nobles in flowing robes spoke in hushed voices, their eyes often drifting toward the human who had just passed the test of courage. Captain Alex Hayes stood at the edge of the hall, uncomfortable in the middle of so much attention. He wore the same simple uniform, while Zetherians moved about in garments that shimmered like liquid fire. Every time he caught someone staring, whispers followed. Some voices were doubtful, others grudgingly respectful. But what mattered most was the queen. She sat on her high seat, observing him with sharp, calculating eyes. She had not spoken much since the trials, but Alex could feel her measuring him still, and beside her was Princess Lyra. She smiled once when her gaze met his, a small but real smile. It warmed him more than all the glowing lanterns combined. Later that night, when the formal gathering began to quiet, Alex walked alone through the palace gardens. The air smelled of strange flowers and streams of liquid light wound between crystal trees. He thought he was alone until he heard footsteps. Lyra appeared from the shadows, her starlight hair catching the glow of the lanterns. She walked toward him slowly, her eyes soft but curious. "You did not stay long at the gathering," she said. Alex gave a small laugh. "Crowds aren't my strength. Too many eyes watching." Lyra tilted her head. "But you stood before a beast, a puzzle of light, and your own fear. You did not falter then." "Battles are easier," Alex replied. "You know what you face. People are harder." Her lips curved slightly. "Perhaps humans and Zetherians are not so different." For a while they walked side by side in silence, the sound of water humming softly around them. Then Lyra stopped, her expression turning serious. "There is something you should know," she whispered. "The raid yesterday, it was not random. There are factions within our empire that would see my mother fall. They send whispers to raiders, feeding them information. Someone inside the palace is betraying us." Alex frowned, his soldier's mind sharpening. "You're certain?" Lyra nodded. "I hear things even when they try to hide them from me. I may be a princess, but I am not blind." Alex looked around the silent garden. "And you're telling me this?" "Why?" Lyra met his gaze. "Because you are not part of them. You're the only one here who cannot be bought, cannot be pulled into their schemes. You proved that when you risked yourself for me." For a long moment Alex said nothing. Then he nodded. "All right. If there's a traitor, we'll find them." The next day Alex began to watch the palace with new eyes. He studied the guards, the nobles, the servants. He noticed who avoided looking at him, and who whispered too quickly when he passed. That evening, during a council meeting, he caught something. One of the nobles, a tall Zytharian named Korvac, slipped a small device into his sleeve as the queen spoke. It was subtle, but Alex's eyes caught the movement. After the meeting, Alex followed him quietly through the palace corridors. Korvac moved with purpose, avoiding guards until he slipped into a chamber near the outer walls. Alex stepped closer, pressing against the doorway. He heard the faint crackle of a communicator. The Enpri. The Zytharian palace was never truly quiet. Even at night, when the twin moons rose over the crystal towers, the air hummed faintly with energy from the living walls. Strange insects glowed in the gardens, and fountains whispered as water drifted upward instead of falling down. To Alex Hayes, every sound reminded him that he was far from Earth. He tried to rest, but his mind would not calm. The queen's eyes still haunted him, sharp as blades, weighing his every word. And Princess Lyra's presence, it stayed with him even after she left his chamber. He had called her too beautiful, and he meant it. Yet that truth also placed him in danger, for beauty in this palace was not only admired but also tested. The next morning, Alex dressed in the formal uniform Earth had given him, a plain blue jacket with silver trim, boots polished until they shone. He stepped into the great hall where Zytharian nobles had gathered for a council. Their eyes followed him, some filled with suspicion, others with curiosity. The queen sat on her throne, her armor gleaming in the morning light. At her side stood Lyra, dressed in flowing garments that shimmered like liquid stars. She did not look at Alex directly, but he noticed the way her fingers touched the edge of her cloak nervously. "Human," the queen spoke, her voice echoing across the hall. "Today you will observe our council. You will learn of our concerns, our enemies, and our ways. If you are to prove worthy, you must first understand us." Alex bowed respectfully. "I am honored, Your Majesty." The council began, filled with alien voices and matters Alex only half understood. They spoke of trade routes, of border disputes, of a shadow growing at the edge of their empire. But as he listened, Alex noticed something strange. Lyra kept glancing toward the tall windows, her expression uneasy. Then, without warning, the palace shook. The lights in the hall flickered, and a booming sound echoed outside. Shouts rose from the guards as the great doors burst open. A soldier rushed in, his armor scorched. "Raiders!" he cried. "The outer defenses are breached." Chaos filled the chamber. Nobles gasped and fled to safety, while guards formed ranks. The queen stood tall, her eyes blazing with command. "Protect the palace! Protect the air!" she shouted. But even as the guards rushed out, a blast struck the far wall, shattering crystal and sending shards flying. Through the smoke stepped figures clad in dark armor, faces hidden by masks. The space raiders had come straight for the throne room. Alex reacted before thinking. He dove forward, pulling Lyra behind the base of the throne as energy bolts streaked across the hall. The crackle of alien weapons filled the air, scorching the stone where she had stood a heartbeat before. "Stay low," Alex ordered, shielding her with his body. Lyra's eyes widened. Why are you—" "No time," Alex snapped, scanning the chaos. He spotted a fallen guard, his weapon lying on the ground nearby. With quick steps, Alex grabbed it, the alien rifle feeling strange in his hands. Still, a trigger was a trigger. The raiders advanced, but Alex opened fire, forcing them to duck for cover. His aim wasn't perfect, but it was enough to push them back. The queen's guards rallied, driving the raiders into retreat. After a fierce exchange, the attackers withdrew, vanishing into the skies as quickly as they had come. The throne room was left in ruins, smoke rising from broken walls and scorched floors. Alex helped Lyra to her feet. She was shaken, her glowing eyes wide but unhurt. "Are you harmed, Princess?" he asked. She shook her head. "No. Thanks to you." The queen descended from the throne, her expression unreadable. She looked at the wreckage, then at Alex, who still held the alien rifle. "You protected her," she said slowly. Alex set the weapon down and bowed. "I did what any human would do. No one touches an innocent while I still stand." For a long moment, the queen studied him. Then, with a gesture, she dismissed the guards and nobles. Only she, Lyra, and Alex remained in the broken hall. "Human," she said at last. "You acted with courage. You placed yourself between danger and my daughter. Yet I wonder, was it instinct or was it care?" Alex hesitated. He looked at Lyra, who stood close now, her eyes fixed on him with quiet wonder. He thought of his earlier words, of how he feared her beauty. But in that moment of battle there had been no fear, only the need to protect her. It was instinct, Alex said honestly. But maybe instinct comes from what we value most. And in that moment, Princess Lyra's life was all that mattered. The Queen's eyes softened slightly. Not much, but enough for Alex to notice. Lyra, however, did not hide her feelings. Her lips curved into a faint smile, and for the first time, she met his gaze fully. "Then perhaps you are not as unworthy as you believe," the Queen said. Before Alex could reply, more guards rushed in with news. The raiders were gone, but they had left destruction in their wake. Several outlying districts of the city burned, and the people were frightened. The Queen straightened, her command returning. "See to the people. The Empire must not show weakness." The guards obeyed, and soon the hall was filled with activity once more. Yet as Alex stepped aside, Lyra paused beside him. "You risked your life," she whispered. "Why?" Alex gave a small smile. "Because sometimes fear doesn't matter. Protecting someone else matters more." Her eyes glowed brighter, and for a heartbeat she looked as though she might say more. But the Queen's voice called her away, and she followed, leaving Alex with the faint warmth of her gratitude. That night, as Alex walked the palace corridors, he overheard whispers among the guards. Some doubted him, calling him reckless. Others praised him, saying the human had shown bravery beyond expectation. But one thing was certain. The Queen had seen him act, and so had Lyra. And the bond that had begun in words was now forged in fire. Alex stood at his window, staring out at the twin moons. He knew the raiders would not stop, and he knew the Queen would test him even harder now, but he also knew something had changed in Lyra's eyes. And perhaps, just perhaps, that was the start of something greater than either world had expected. The Zitherian palace was like nothing a human had ever seen before. Its walls shimmered with colors that changed like living light, flowing as if the palace itself breathed. Towers of crystal rose high into the violet sky, and alien banners fluttered in a wind that smelled faintly of metal and flowers. Captain Alex Hayes stepped through the great entrance, his boots echoing softly on the polished stone floor. Every step reminded him that he was far from Earth, far from home, and standing in the middle of history. This was the first official meeting between humans and the Zitherian Empire. Both sides had watched each other from a distance for years, but never this close. Now Alex was chosen as Earth's envoy. He had been trained for diplomacy, survival, and alien customs, but nothing prepared him for the moment he entered the throne chamber. The alien queen sat upon a high throne carved from black crystal. She wore silver armor that gleamed under the lights, yet her face carried wisdom and authority. Her crown resembled wings, and her eyes glowed faintly blue, sharp and watchful. Around her, alien guards stood in silence, their spears taller than Alex himself. Next to her stood a figure that made Alex's breath catch, Princess Lyra. Her presence was like a melody made flesh, graceful, radiant, and beyond words. She had the same glowing eyes as her mother, but softer, filled with wonder rather than judgment. Her hair shimmered like threads of starlight, moving as though touched by an unseen breeze. Though clearly alien, her beauty was undeniable, something that stirred deep inside Alex. The Queen's voice cut through the chamber, calm but heavy with weight. "Human," she said, her gaze fixed upon him. "You stand before the Zitherian throne. You are Earth's chosen envoy, yet I see no interest in my daughter. Why do you not care for her?" The question stunned him. Every eye in the chamber turned to him, waiting. Alex felt his throat tighten. He had expected questions about Earth's resources, alliances, or technology, but this? He glanced at Lyra, who looked away shyly as though embarrassed. Alex took a deep breath. His voice was steady, though his heart raced. "Your Majesty," he said, "it is not that I do not care. It is that she is too beautiful." The chamber grew silent. The guards exchanged glances, confused. Even the Queen leaned forward slightly, her sharp eyes narrowing. Lyra herself blinked, surprise flickering across her glowing face. "Too beautiful?" the Queen repeated, her tone unreadable. Alex nodded, forcing himself to continue. "Her beauty is overwhelming. I fear I could never be worthy to stand close to her. To care for someone so radiant is not a task I would dare take lightly. It is easier to step back, to guard my heart, than to pretend I could carry the weight of that responsibility." His words were simple, but they rang with honesty. For a long moment, silence filled the chamber, broken only by the faint hum of alien energy flowing through the palace walls. Then the queen's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. It was not approval, not yet, but curiosity. Humans, she said softly, always surprising. Princess Lyra finally looked at Alex again. Her cheeks glowed faintly with a color that might have been Zetherian blush. She lowered her gaze quickly as if hiding something. The queen stood from her throne. Her armor clinked softly, and the hall seemed to darken under her presence. She descended the steps slowly, each step filled with grace and power. She stopped only a few feet away from Alex. Though she was taller than him, he did not back away. "You fear unworthiness?" she asked. "Yes," Alex answered truthfully. The queen studied.